Hi, this is Margo. This is Sunday late afternoon, August 13th, 2023. I hope everyone is safe and doing as well as possible. And another week has passed since my last YouTube update. And so I'd like to welcome everyone to the show today. This will be my weekly update I'll be putting on YouTube for Climate Roundup, looking at climate-related items and methane and sea ice and some earthquakes. And before I start off, just a couple of things. I'd like to thank the person who sent the very kind donations this week. It's very much appreciated, and thank you very much. It's very much appreciated. And the second thing is I received an email from one of the viewers suggesting that I use a larger mouse pointer, that I increase the size of the mouse of the pointer for the videos. And so in endeavoring to do that, I realized that it's not just changing the size of the mouse on Windows. That only changes it for the person who's viewing it, like here. But in order to record it at a larger setting, that has to be done through the recording software, and when you're making a video, and the software that I'm using does not allow that. But it does allow, you'll see, I've got a highlighted circle around the pointer, and I made it pink to make it show up a little bit better. And so at this point, I'm not interested really in learning a whole new software to record the videos. I might look into it, but thanks for the suggestion, but can't be done with the software that I'm using. But thank you for the suggestion, but I did look into it. So here we are on Climate Reanalyzer for today the 13th, and we're going to start with maximum temperatures around the world. And we're doing the final countdown, watching the Arctic sea ice and seeing what's going to be left at minimum extent, and that will be, usually it reaches minimum extent around mid-September to around the 19th. And so it's slowing down, but it's still, we're not out of the woods. And anyway, we'll talk about that in a minute. So here in the Arctic regions, we're seeing some aquas and dark aqua here. So that area is around freezing and a little bit below, and some aqua spots on the west side. And the greens are above freezing for the air temperature. We're still seeing hot temperatures, or warm. We've got reds here in Alaska and northern Canada, and also across Russia, a lot of reds. And down through the U.S., we've got white showing up on the west side again, California and Arizona, down into Mexico, also Texas, and the southern states here, going all the way across down into Mexico. And white is 40 degrees C or higher, or 104 degrees Fahrenheit or higher. South America, Brazil especially, you've got whites on the interior. Africa, you've still got the whites on the north end and over the Congo. Spain has whites. We've got some whites coming across southern Europe, it looks like. We've got some grays here in the Middle East, and so that's getting up into like 50 degrees C areas, so really hot there. And here at India, whites as well. Here's 2-meter temperature anomaly, and we've got some tans coming across the Arctic Ocean, and then blues, meaning colder than normal, and that's where we're seeing the freezing and below freezing air temperatures. Russia is mainly in the browns all the way across, and dark browns even here on the coast of the Barents Sea. Siberia's in the browns. We've got brown in Alaska, a little bit of blue in northwest Canada, and then browns all the way around, and blues mixed in. Greenland, mainly in the browns, and then browns through the southern part of the U.S. and so on. Here's the flat view. Got more browns coming down straight from Russia in 2 areas, and then blues in the middle. Australia, you're in browns and dark brown. The Antarctic has gone down. It's got some browns, but then lots of blues and purples, so colder than normal there. Here's our overview. Worldwide, we're up 0.69 C, higher than normal. The northern hemisphere is up 0.107 C. The Arctic is up 1.68 C. The Antarctic is down 3.51 C. The southern hemisphere is up 0.31 C, and the tropics are up 0.77 C. Now this has gone down a little bit at the tropics, but is still up there. And northern hemisphere, Arctic, both. Those are up there too. Here's precipitation and clouds. And we've got rain in this North Barents Sea, just next to Svalbard, up to Novaya Zemlya, and then we've got some snow. We've got some rain-snow mix in the Fram Strait, just next to Greenland, and some more rain. And then rain on this west side of Greenland, along with snow. And rain across the Canadian archipelago. And here's the flat view. And coming on down, here are the pieces of what's left of the jet stream that is getting more unstable all the time. And here's the flat view. You see the big looping up and down, and breaks, and southern hemisphere, lots of chaos too. So it's just more of the same. And Here's sea ice and snow cover. We'll look at this in more detail in a minute, but so we'll just come back to that. Here's sea surface temperature anomaly. This is for yesterday, and we've got reds and pinks along this Russia coastline. And remember, a couple of weeks ago they expanded the chart out to 9C higher than normal and 9C lower than normal. So we're going to move into the pinks and whites. It's moving up towards the 9C, like what we're seeing here in the Kara Sea and in this Beaufort Sea here. And this big evil eye blob in the North Atlantic, it looks like it's a little bit less. It's not as bright red, but it's still hanging out there just south of Greenland and north of Newfoundland. And we're seeing we're still seeing some blue in the Baffin Bay. This is from the cold runoff from the Greenland ice sheet, but it's the ice sheet melted, slowing way down, so not seeing it as dark a blue. And so we've got more browns here on this east side. Here in this Hudson Bay, that's filled up in reds and browns now. And off the west coast of North America, we've got this big oblong blob all the way down from the Gulf of Alaska. And we can see in the Gulf of Mexico and also in the Atlantic Ocean moving into darker browns. It's not just tan anymore. It's moving into like 3 and 4C higher than normal. Here's the flat view, and we can see the Atlantic is almost all some shade of brown. In the Indian Ocean, same thing. The Mediterranean Sea has gone down a little bit. It's in browns and tans. It had been reds and browns. And Black Sea brown, Caspian Sea brown, Persian Gulf brown, Red Sea kind of splotchy brown. And here in the Pacific, it's still high off the coast of South America at this equatorial Pacific region, going straight across. And then this big blob, and it's extending. It's bigger than it has been in the past, and extending from Japan more than halfway across the North Pacific. And that's our evil eye here in the North and Northwest Pacific Ocean. And then we've got browns all around Mexico and Central America. So El Nino is kicking in now. Alright, we'll move on to methane. And we're looking at the NOAA methane data for yesterday, the 12th, for the Met-Op-B satellite in the morning, 1,000 millibar level. The mean or average was 1,847 parts per billion. And our high reading is here in Russia. And in the afternoon, the mean was 1846. On the Met-Op-C, we've got quite a bit of missing data, but I'm going to go ahead and count it. It didn't change the reading that much. Compared to the other levels, it's in comparison. So here the mean is 1846, and in the afternoon the mean was 1846. And on the 487 millibar level, back to the Met-Op-B in the morning, the mean was 1927, and in the afternoon the mean was 1926. And same missing data on the Met-Op-C in the morning, and the mean was 1895. And in the afternoon the mean was 1893, and we can see all these pinks across the northern hemisphere mainly, and we've got pinks over the Antarctic. This is on in the northern part and northeast part there. Here's our weekly chart for the Met-Op-C only, 487 millibar, and the 12th averaged out to be 1894.0. That gives us a decrease this week of 2.5. So see, it's gone down right there. And you know, it's common to have some stair stepping. Usually it's not going straight up in the summertime, but we're still in the methane warming season until sometime in October. And you know, this year has been so different. I can't tell when we're gonna peak out. So let's see what methane did here this week. So in our show last Sunday, we ended at 1896.5, and with an increase last week of 4.0. And then the 6th went down 1.0, 7th up 0.5, 8th no change, 9th down 1.5, the 10th up 0.5, 11th down 0.5, and 12th down 0.5, giving us an overall decrease of 2.5 here. So we can see it was just kind of back and forth there. And then for the all four readings on the 487 millibar, the 12th averaged out to be 1910.25, and giving us a decrease this week of 0.5 right there. So more stair stepping. And then for the 1000 millibar level, the 12th averaged out to be 1846.25, so decrease this week of 1.0. So here we are right there. And I've explained this weird drop here. I've explained that in previous videos, in case you haven't been following me for very long. There was missing data on the Met-Op-B satellite for about a month, for May 20th through June 20th, and it gave us a false readings. So that's I documented it, but this is not right. So, but I documented it, and that's why I broke out the Met-Op-C on 487, and I'd been tracking the Met-Op-C in the past as well, so anyway, so there's that. So now we'll look at the CAMS methane data. This is Copernicus Atmosphere Monitoring Services out of the EU methane forecast. And I do track and report this on a daily basis. And if you'd like to see that and have access to it, you're welcome to join us on my Subscribe Star channel for $5 a month. And that's listed in the description box below. And I do a midweek update on Wednesdays, and you get access to that as well, and whatever else I post over there. And then it all ends up getting archived on my website so that we can have a record to go back and see what happened. But I'm tracking methane on a daily basis. So here we are. So our base time and valid time are both for Saturday, August 12th, and we're starting with the Arctic area and surface level. And so the data is for Saturday, and forecast period is Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Well, first of all, we're seeing at the beginning of the period, we're seeing higher readings. See here, I'll stop it. Here in this East Siberian Sea, also the Beaufort Sea, up into the yellows. It had been up into the reds and kind of orangey reds there. And the ice has melted in this area. What ice is left right up here is really thin and wispy, and it's in a state of collapse right now. And we're also still seeing high releases from the Komsomolets area and this spot in the North Kara Sea next to it. Also, the Scandinavian area over to western Russia, you can see is pretty much one big blob, and how it's streaming over the coastline. So that's super high methane when you see that happening. Streaming out over the Barents Sea and Kara Sea. And it's also increasing on this interior of Russia, and they have more fires burning now in this area as well. So fires all over the place. And see, we've got more methane in East Siberia popping up there in southern Russia next to China. Alaska is kind of filling up in the interior, and then Canada still has fires going across, and different areas of high methane. And in the US, the usual spots. But it's actually gone down around this Gulf Coast, the coastline. Let's see. I think because it hasn't rained recently down there. I think the rain has been further north. But it's still high. See, in central US and on this east coast, eastern seaboard. And I guess y'all are all aware of the fires that ripped through Maui, Hawaii, at the Lahaina area, and yeah, that was tragic. Normally, I don't normally do a lot of reporting on stuff like that because it's being covered by mainstream. It's being covered everywhere, and but you know, you can just be aware this is part of you know, what we're going to see, and no place is immune from the fires and from the extreme weather events. And apparently the hurricane was on the way, and there were high winds, and it was very dry, and then who knows what sparked it, but there you go. And it could have some radiation in it from Fukushima, you know. So if it's got radiation, then it's going to burn hot and fast. Hot and fast. And here's our problem spot in the North Atlantic off the coast of Newfoundland. And we're still seeing a couple of spots on Iceland pop up. And the Iceland volcano is going off again. So it's just a lot. And now we'll go to the North Pole view. And here's the UK and Ireland, that's filled up. Here's Germany, you've got quite a bit. Persian Gulf is filling up. India is filling up more, and especially going over towards Southern Asia, China. China's filling up. And these waves, see the waves moving across. That's high in methane. Now we'll go to the global view. And the main background color in the southern hemisphere now is this lighter reading, which is 1860 parts per billion. We still have a little bit of the 1840 popping up. but it's mainly been taken over by the 1860. So we're under the dome of all the methane. And then 500 HPA. So it went down a tiny bit this week, but it still looks pretty awful. See the heavy, look down here, India and China. We've got a heavy reading north of Australia up to Papua New Guinea. There's a lower reading area right here, and this is kind of weird to see it like this, so low over the Arctic there, but that's just how it's distributed. The heavy readings across Canada, some of the US, and the reds further south, and yellows, see, all the way down. We've got kind of reddish orange almost at the coastline of Antarctica. So the higher readings are redistributing further south as we move through the season. And then total column. And this is a huge band from China all the way across to past the Red Sea into Africa here, and very wide. See, it's covering most of India, all of southern Asia, and most of China. So I remember when I first started doing this reporting, first learning CAMS back in 2018, I'd look at total column, and this dark area would just be a little tiny area over China mainly, and it was just a little bit, it wasn't this huge big swath. And so I mean, it's changed a lot since then. Changed a lot. Alright, we got a couple of more things to look at here. Here's some more things from CAMS that I track. Here's sulfur dioxide today, and we had seen the heavy sulfur dioxide that had come up around Alaska and had kind of spread out across Canada and back over Russia. That's kind of dissipated into cream colors now, and we've got a high reading here in the South Pacific popping up. I'm thinking this is plate movement, and when the tectonic plates move, sometimes you'll have pockets of sulfur dioxide just burst out. And same thing here in the South Indian Ocean. Here it is at 500 HPA, and we can see not very much coming from Mexico and Popocatépetl. So here that is at 500 HPA here in the South Pacific. Here's the ozone over the Antarctic today, and we've got these are danger zone holes that have opened up where it's inside the black line, the thick black line, and you've got the bluish purple. That's between 200 and 220 Dobson units, which is considered to be in the danger zone. So we've got one in the south of Australia, and one opened up across the Western Peninsula. We've got one on the north side and a little one off the northeast coast here, and then aquas and greens. So remember, it's still winter time. Most of the continent is still in the dark, and in the winter time the ozone hole really opens up down here. Now, we haven't seen it. I mean, this is not as bad as last year, I don't think. I'd have to go back and look, but I mean, it's still got a hole. I mean, it didn't go away. Here's the Arctic ozone, and we've got this hole from Iceland all the way up through this North Atlantic, Barents Sea, Kara Sea, over the Scandinavian area, over Russia. A lot of Russia is in the chartreuse and the green. That's for two reasons: from high methane, and also from the smoke that will cause a thin ozone layer. And also we've got it the green over the Arctic Ocean there, and on the west coast of Canada and Pacific Northwest there. Here's the global view, and we can see it's this perpetual green hole around the mid-Atlantic, not mid-Atlantic, sorry, around the equatorial regions, north and south. It's perpetual year-round. It's a hole that's now opened up and is there year-round. Okay, here are the fires, smoke from the fires today. Here's Canada. We can see that's a lot less, and the smoke is going up over Alaska and the Arctic, and we've got some smoke in Brazil, and here Africa, mainly over the Congo, and Russia. You can see how it's spread out. And this is the Arctic view, and so we've got this is kind of a weird, like a C shape with the heavy smoke around this archipelago region in Canada, and then spreading out. This is heavy across the Bering Strait, and then here's Russia, Siberia, Russia, and Russia. So these are from their own wildfires. And you can see the smoke drifting across. So smoke over the sea ice is not a good mix. And that's all of those. Okay, I'm going to take a short break, and then we'll come back and do the sea ice portion of the show. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and now we'll move into the sea ice portion of the show. And we're going to start with our slideshow. These are images that I save from Climate Reanalyzer every day. And here is sea ice concentration and snow cover. And so we can see the Hudson Bay is open, Baffin Bay is open. It's melted out a whole lot in these tributaries, and a lot of the ice is just kind of mushy, you know, a lot of pieces. I mean, it's melting out fast. The Beaufort Sea, it's opened up far away from the coastlines. Chukchi Sea is open. You can see a big change this week. Look how this East Siberian Sea has opened up, and this was the little bridge coming across, and that's just barely there now. This is just thin, wispy ice here. Here's the Laptev Sea. There's a little bit of ice just to the west of Severnaya Zemlya, but you can see there's a line coming across towards Svalbard that's collapsing. And on this east side of Greenland, see, that's pretty much open. So I'll take you through what happened this week. So here we were last week, Sunday the 6th. Oh, and I thought I was never going to get the show finished recording last Sunday. I started way too late, and I just was so tired, and anyway, it was very difficult to do the show last week, so I'm going to try from now on to start recording by 5 instead of later on in the evening, if I can. If I start my recording by 5, and then, you know, I'll have my recording done within a couple of hours, and then it has to be edited and uploaded. So that's the plan. That's the plan. I'm not waiting till 9 to start recording again. That was, I can't do it. So anyway, so here we were last Sunday, and see, this East Siberian Sea was opening up, and so let's see what happened. So here was Monday. See, looks like it grew back. See the snow. They had snow there in Siberia, but the line's coming across there. Here's Tuesday, Wednesday. Look at that. Big changes from day to day. Thursday. That was a big retreat day. See? Look, from Wednesday to Thursday. Here's Friday. Wow, look at that. See, completely open across the bridge there. Then Saturday, and here we are today. So it can look quite a bit different from day to day, just depending on what opens up. Sometimes a hole can open up in one area one day, and it'll be closed back up the next day because of the way the ice has drifted back together. So there's that. And then we'll go through these other models. We'll start with the U.S. Navy models. This is the Arctic sea ice thickness. It was updated today. Here's the color ledger on the right. And we can see our thickest ice is right just above Greenland and mainly Ellesmere Island, just a little bit of the archipelago here, but see how it's thinned way down. And the bright aqua is 2 to 2.5 meters thick. There's just a little line of green, which is 3 meters thick above Greenland and Ellesmere, and just a touch of red. So this has really gone way down, and then the rest of the ice is mainly lavender, and that's like the dark purple is 1 meter thick. The blue is about 1.25 meters thick, and so even the dark aqua, it's thinning way down. But the North Pole is about 1 to 1.25 meters thick right now. Wherever you see the white areas, that's open water. And so, like this light lavender, this is really thin. This whole area, this is all just in a state of collapse right now, where you see the purple. So, here's the 30-day animation. It was updated to today, so the data goes back 3 weeks, and forecast goes out to next Sunday. So I'm really glad the Navy updated their site so that we could have some current data to see, especially while we're in the countdown with this ice melt up here. Now normally what we see is, it melts really fast in July, and then it starts slowing down in August. The melt is still going, but it's just at a slower pace. And then we usually reach minimum extent, like I said, mid-September to around the 19th. But considering we've got the heat the way it is, and El Nino and sunspots and all this stuff, it might keep melting. We might not reach minimum in mid-September. It might be later, and we've got melting underneath. So I don't know, it's just hard to say. And so we're seeing this Northwest Passage area opening up. This line here, I'll stop it. This line here from the Baffin Bay, see this kind of straight line? This is one of this is the main Northwest Passage that opens up here in the Beaufort Sea, and it's all but opened up by next Sunday. Just a little bit of light lavender, so that's just pieces of ice there. So their tours will be successful. They'll be able to get through that no problem. So here we are next Sunday, Look at all these whites. This is virtually open water, and I'm mainly thinking about the aquas here. And let's zoom in a little bit more. And see what we've got. So it's really breaking up in the forecast period. Look at this. So I'll stop it again. Okay, here we are next Sunday, and see the line coming up here. See the aqua, it's migrating and exiting through these tributaries, and it's also exiting through this narrow strait and exiting through on this east side on the Fram Strait. So let's go back. So here we are today, and so let's see what changes happen this week. So we'll just click through. So we're seeing a lot of melting here in this archipelago region, and on the west side of this thicker ice. You can see that's really breaking down. And there's a break coming up here. And we saw last year, we kind of had a break at the Lincoln Sea where the ice would go, what part of the ice would go to the east and the other part would go to the west. But I think we had more ice down here last year. That's what we had. And we've got so the bright aqua, there's very little left by next Sunday, and you can see the darker aqua coming in as it's thinning down and coming apart. So next Sunday is the 20th. So figure another month of melt from next Sunday, and we'll see where we are. So here's the Beaufort sea ice thickness. Their latest data here is August the 8th. So that was last Tuesday, I think. And so, yeah. So, this is not current, but you can just, we saw from the other one how this thins way down. And here's the 30-day animation, and the forecast goes to where the 18th, which is 5 days out. So you can see it just clearing out there. And here's the Antarctic. This was updated to today. There's this hole in the ice on this northeast edge. This has been struggling for a few weeks here. Here's the majority of the thicker ice here in the Weddell Sea, just running parallel to this western peninsula, And this Weddell Sea is starting to thicken up a tiny bit, getting a little more aqua. We've got aqua around some of these coastlines as well. And it's growing back a little bit here on this west side of the Western Peninsula. That took forever for that to grow back. And a tiny bit of thickening here in the Ross Sea. And here's the 30-day animation, and the forecast goes out to next Sunday. So let's see what we've got. So mainly thickening is what we're seeing, going from purple to the dark blue. And I have to tell you, the extent here is kind of stalling out. I'll show you. You'll see that on one of our models here. So there's that. Here's the Ross sea ice thickness, and the Ross ice shelf is right down here. We've got blues here and then aquas out here. And see the lines, this is where it's breaking up. So this is as of yesterday, the 12th, and it's got aquas mixed in with the dark aqua. And the 30-day animation and forecast goes out to the 19th, which is Saturday coming up. So it's kind of holding down here. And it's thickening up a little bit as it, see down here it's thickening, and so on. Okay, this is from the University of Bremen website, and this is Arctic sea ice thickness in centimeters. And so this breaks it down in greater detail for us. The thinner areas, this kind of peach colored, is 50 centimeters or higher, so that's half a meter or higher. And then everything else is below half a meter thick is what we're seeing. Down to see the wispy, what I would call the wispy ice on the Navy website. See the 5, this dark green is 0 to 5 centimeters or less. The dark blue is about 5 centimeters. The aqua is 10 centimeters. See, there's 10 centimeters. It's quite thin. And then the green is about 15, the bright green is 15 centimeters. The darker green is about 18 centimeters. The yellow is about 25 centimeters. And Then see, we've got, see, it's kind of breaking up here on the west side and also above Greenland. See that? And so that's red is about 35 centimeters up to the lavender is about 40 centimeters. So the thickest area is just above Greenland and Ellesmere, right in this area towards the North Pole. And we've got a little bit thicker area here that's shown up just west of Severnaya Zemlya. So there's that. And now National Snow and Ice Data Center. This is Arctic sea ice concentration for yesterday. And the wherever you see blue, it's melting. And the dark blue is less concentrated, meaning there's a lot of holes in the ice, open water, quite thin pieces. You see the line cutting through down towards Svalbard. Here's this hole just east of Greenland. And see the blue down here, and see it's blue around the North Pole. So this is all melting, and the dark blue, that's where it's really coming apart. The brown line is the median. We're well below the median. Here's the extent chart for the melting. This blue line is this year. The dotted line is 2012. Here's the median. Now we can see it's still going down. It's slowed down, and it's not. It hasn't been as steep a curve for the last 2 or 3 days. But I mean, we're just in a little pause with the melting, it looks like. And here's the Antarctic. The brown line is the median. And see, it's well under the median here in the Ross Sea and on top and around. And here's the extent on the refreeze. And here's this year. There's last year. Here's the median. And see, it's really dropping. It's kind of stalling out, so it's pausing again on the refreeze. So we've got 2 pauses going on, North and South Pole. And Greenland, tracking that. Now the melt has gone way down, but it's picked back up because we did have some rain and snow on this west side. So melting here on the southern area, and then all around this west edge and the north end too. This is for yesterday. Here are the cumulative melt days for the year, and so we're moving into orange and red on this west side. So 60 to 70 melt days there for the year. The white areas, that's where there's no melt for the year. So not much of the white. And here's the extent chart. So we had fallen back down kind of in line with the median, but then it jumped back up. And so here we are at the 12th, at about, what's that, 12% extent. The day before, we jumped up to about 18 or 19% melt. And the median, it is down here about 5%. So we're still above the median. So this year it's been awful. Up around 50% day after day there. And that's all of those. Now we'll move on to NASA Worldview. And you can see the smoke here in Russia and all across Canada here. Anyway, let's see what's going on here. We're going to start with this sea ice concentration layer and turn off the clouds. Here we are for today. So where you see this west edge, this is just like barely there ice, and this is melting as well. Here above the North Pole, see the greens and the yellows, that's open water. So we've got an area that's going down there. And so let's click through, let's see what happened this week. We'll go back to the 6th. So last week, here we were last week. So we'll click through. Here's the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th. There's a big retreat there. 12th. And here we are today. So we're seeing this bridge really collapsing here in this East Siberian Sea. So now let's just go back to the satellite view. And we'll see what we can see. Going to start down here at northern Greenland. So remember, the ice sheet is melting too, or it was yesterday. Here's the Lincoln Sea. And it looks all smooth there, but it's drifting down. And this is the nearest strait. See, the ice is moving through here. See the ice there. A lot of open water there. And it's open by the time it gets down to the Baffin Bay. We've got clouds there. Hard to see that. Let's move. Here's Ellesmere Island. Look at how this all this snow is melted just down to the rock, just mainly rock there. Okay, let's come on around. Here's so here's the Beaufort Sea, and all of this area is open. I know there's cloud covered there, but as you move further east, here's the 80-degree north latitude line, and see this collapse going on. Look at that. See, that's in high melt, and this is where the thicker ice usually migrates down along the archipelago and down into the Beaufort Gyre. But this is in high melt. See this? You have to look through some clouds here, but you can see the state of the ice. It's just a lot of open water, and the more open water you have, the faster the other ice is going to melt, because you're absorbing heat rather than reflecting it, absorbing heat and radiation. So here we can see some sea ice. See, same thing. Lots of open water. And see, here's some of the ice edge. But see how it just spreads out. As it comes apart, it spreads out, it expands out. So sometimes they'll count this melting ice's extent, but that's it gives you a false sense of security, because they don't realize that the reason it's wider is because it's melting and spreading out. So, see, all that open water. So here's Canada, here's Alaska. There's Barrow. Looking through a lot of clouds. This is all open. Here's the Bering Strait. Look at, see that's algae. See the algae? And there's smoke there too. Smoke. And then here's Russia, Siberia. Here's Wrangel Island, and then here's Russia. This is what's left of that bridge coming across. You can see that's in high melt. Not much ice left there. Let's see, it's just barely there ice. Here's smoke, and see the green, that's algae. And see this ice. This is melting fast. And then here's open water, here's open. And Here's New Siberian Islands. Here's the Laptev Sea. This is all open. See, all around the coastline. Here's the Taimyr Peninsula. And here's Severnaya Zemlya. There's a big cloud. So where's the ice? Here it is, and there's a lot of open water here in between the pieces. So this is melting fast. Look at this. Let's go back up here. Let's go back to when I look at, here's the Vovolov ice cap today, and see it's still pouring into the ocean. These are clouds here. These are clouds. So here's some ice. This is what's left in the North Kara Sea. Right there. And this is open in the Kara Sea. Here's Novaya Zemlya. Oh, let's look at our algae blob. Look at this. I showed this last week. This is in the Barents Sea. That's not good. That's got to be toxic algae. Look, it's huge. It's filling it up. You can't. We have to. Here's a good view on the 11th. That's a huge area, and see it spreading out. That's not good. But that's what we've got. And then here's Franz Josef Land. There's some ice around here. Here's Svalbard. It's open. Okay, see, no ice around Svalbard. Here's the 10th. See, it was open there. Here's the ice edge. And see, it's opening up. Let's go in here. Did we see this? So this is, as we go in, it's coming apart. Here's the North Pole. Can't really see much here. So here we have, you can see the little specks. That's where it's opening up. Open water around the ice pieces. And then we're back to Greenland. So yeah, this is coming apart fast. So we'll just keep watching. And let's look at Greenland. See, it's completely open on this east side. Up to here, here's a little bit of ice left up here. and it's completely open on the west side. And so here's our storm with the rain and snow. We've got, they've got smoke mixed in. See the smoke there? So that will cause kind of acid rain and ashes to fall down on the ice. And that darkens the ice, and then it makes it melt faster. Here's the Hudson Bay. They've got algae too, see? And here's the smoke coming up. So there's that. Now let's look at what we can see in the Antarctic. And so the sun's coming up, and gradually this black area will be decreasing. Here's the Western Peninsula. Here's the ice, and there's the Weddell Sea. If we come around here, so here's the sea ice. This is the Weddell Sea ice here. Here's the edge. There's a cloud. Here's, let's see, where's the ice? Let's go back. It's right up here, right along this line. Let's see. And here's the east side. Here's the ice. And depending on the day, sometimes you can see a little bit more of the continent. Like here's the Totten Glacier. This was on the 11th, and we're looking through clouds, but we can see open water on the right here. That meaning that never froze back right in here. This area was too warm, I guess, for it to ever freeze back. So that's worrisome. And that's about all we can see. Here's the ice on the west side. And so we'll have to wait for the sun to come up before we can see Pine Island Glacier and Totten Glacier and all of those. Since the nighttime layer is not available anymore. I miss that layer. That was fantastic when it worked. Alright, now Let's let our eyes adjust here, and we'll take a peek at earthquakes. We've got 209 worldwide in the last 24 hours. We've got, here's one just off the coast of Iceland, 4.5 near Sangaroy, Iceland. This came in today at 1:29 p.m. .2. This is on Crete. I think this is Crete. .1. Polyokara, Okara, Greece. That's Crete. Anyway, you can see the movement. Mainly 4s. Here's a 5. 5.7. Cambrian, Papua New Guinea, but mainly 4s. Let's look at, see what Hawaii's doing. Especially with all the fires, what's going on. Earthquake-wise, here's a 3.0. It's 147 kilometers south-southwest of Lanai City, Hawaii. 3.0, so that's in the ocean there. So let's look at where Lanai is. See if we can find it. So it's on the west side. Not sure if I can find it. I know how to find it. We'll look at that in a minute. In the meantime, here's a 4.3 near Kilauea. That came in today at 4:36. And here's some in the crater of Kilauea. So Kilauea is coming back to life. And here's Pahala. Here's one at Mauna Loa, 2.0. So if we go to Zoom Earth, we can go over here to Hawaii. And go back. You didn't see the smoke. We'll turn on the fires later. Oh, it's up here. I was on the wrong island. Here we are. Let's see. Wow, look at this. And then here, this must be Lanai. Well, yeah, right here. Right on this point is Lanai. So that's where the big fires happened. And more fires, so this is on Maui. So we need to pray for those people. Let's see, the big fires were out here, and more further in as well. If we go back. There it was on the 10th. The burning away there, and then further down. See, in the middle of the island. Okay, so we saw that. We've got see, in this Cascadia subduction zone, 3.8, 1.8. Here's one off the coast of Vancouver Island, 2.2. So let's see all magnitudes this week. $1,834 earthquakes this week. Here's some Arctic earthquakes. We've got, this one was not far from the North Pole, 4.5. It says north of Svalbard, but it's northeast of Greenland, right on the red line. And it's at 83 degrees north latitude. So that's inside the 80 degree line. That came in on the 10th. And then here's a 4.3 just west of Svalbard. That came in on the 7th. And then we saw the one in Iceland. And here's some at South Sandwich Island. And then here in the South Pacific, quite a bit of activity. 5.9 Tonga, and we just talked about Tonga last week. 5.0. Wallis and Futuna, and that 5.9 could have been a 6. Whenever I see something like that, I'm thinking 6 in my mind, and that it was probably downgraded. And so these bigger dots are 5s. And let's see, here's 5.8. Again, that could have been a 6 downgraded. That's Agronomos Mexicanos, Mexico. Here on the Juan de Fuca plate, we had 4.1 on the west side. 3.1 as well. We've got a cluster. See all this movement around the fulcrum point next to this Juan de Fuca plate, and so on. So, I mean, activity, not huge movement, but just consistent. Let's see. If you look at the trends and the clusters, you can see what happened in West Texas. There were 52 here this week. These are mainly 2s. 2s and 1s. 3.3 and 3.1, 3.0. That's quite a few, 52 in 1 week. And so on. Here's Yellowstone. Let's see. Just dotted. They're small. Just dotted around. 57. Pacific Northwest. And so on. Japan. Here, this was a 5.8. I think this was originally a 6.0 and downgraded to a 5.8 near Hokkaido, Japan. And you can see all of these were in the water. None of these were on land. So these are 4s coming down. And then around Taiwan, here's a 5.4. And so, anyway, you get the idea. Lots of movement. Nothing really huge this week, doesn't look like. And we'll finish up our show tonight by reading out of the book of Tobit. We started this book last week, and we've started reading in the Apocrypha now. These were books of the Bible that were considered to be in the main Bible, but then did not make it into the Bible, and there's a whole group called the Apocrypha. Tobit chapter 2. Now when I was come home again, and my wife Anna was restored unto me with my son Tobias, in the feast of Pentecost, which is the holy feast of the 7 weeks, there was a good dinner prepared me, in the which I sat down to eat. And when I saw abundance of meat, I said to my son, Go, and bring what poor man soever thou shalt find out of our brethren, who is mindful of the Lord, and lo, I tarry for thee. But he came again and said, Father, one of our nation is strangled and is cast out in the marketplace. Then before I had tasted of any meat, I started up and took him up into a room until the going down of the sun. Then I returned and washed myself and ate my meat in heaviness, remembering that prophecy of Amos, as he said, Your feasts shall be turned into mourning, and all your mirth into lamentation. Therefore I wept, and after the going down of the sun I went and made a grave and buried him. But my neighbors mocked me and said, This man is not yet afraid to be put to death for this matter. who fled away, and yet lo, he burieth the dead again. The same night also I returned from the burial, and slept by the wall of my courtyard, being polluted, and my face was uncovered. And I knew not that there were sparrows in the wall, and mine eyes being open, the sparrows muted warm dung into mine eyes, and a whiteness came in mine eyes. And I went to the physicians, but they helped me not. Moreover, Archaeocaris did nourish me until I went into Elamias. And my wife Anna did take women's works to do, and when she had sent them home to the owners, they paid her wages, and gave her also besides a kid. And when it was in my house, and began to cry, I said unto her, From whence is this kid? Is it not stolen? Render it to the owners, for it is not lawful to eat anything that is stolen. But she replied upon me, and it was given for a gift, more than the wages. Howbeit I did not believe her, but bade her render it to the owners. And I was abashed at her, but she replied upon me, Where are thine alms and thy righteous deeds? Behold, thou and all thy works are known. Tobit chapter 2. So I'll be praying for everyone. I hope you all have as good a week as possible. It's a very dark world, and it's getting darker and darker, and the only light and hope is the salvation through Jesus Christ. And so if you haven't given your life to Jesus, I recommend it before it's too late. So I'm praying for all of you, and I love you. And until next time, God bless you. Go in peace, and I will talk to you soon. Good night.